Good evening, Mr. Robert Seidel. Oops, hold on a second here. Pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday evening in September 2023. And it's a great pleasure to be with you and honor and privilege. I'm looking forward to an exciting hour to spend with you here. We're on live every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. on the number one talk station in Las Vegas. Hello, James. Nice to see you. See you there. And you know what? I always look forward to this because it's a good chance for me too, to get recharged, get refocused. You know what, my friends? I think we all need to be refocused. We all need to keep feeding our mind and soul. We need to find the place within us of joy, of love, of harmony, of peace, of happiness, and all that's good, and keep building our foundation on that and moving forward. Because so much of the world is set up in such a way that it does not encourage those things. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you stay joined and joined in with us tonight. And I hope you stay tuned in this next hour because I want to share some exciting possibilities for you. Because you know what? I'm always being reminded of different things and different lessons of how divine and magical this world really is. And tonight I want to share some actual stories out of my own life that where, for me anyway, I can't deny God's hand being in place. And I think what I want you and I to open ourselves to, and put on a little bit of music in the background here, I want you and I to open ourselves to the realization and idea that there's an infinite intelligence applied to your life right now. Wherever you are right now, in this very moment, you are part of a divine journey. And there's a divine path for you right now, right this second. Hey, Debbie, how you doing tonight? Always appreciate your messages. So that's the journey that I want to be on here tonight. Is to remind you and remind me that the infinite intelligence of God's hand and grace, the touch of grace, is with us even when we don't realize it. And I'm going to tell you two different stories from my life that I think will convince you. One was both of them were both ignited in the last day, but so they're very, very current, but it will reveal to me anyway, that yes, we can trust. So, but before I go on those stories, what I want to do is do a short relaxation and meditational experience right now, a healing, regeneration experience, so that you and I can be rejuvenated, reinvigorated, revitalized, and brought into greater and greater happiness and joy. So, wherever you are right now, if you're in a car, if you happen to be driving around in a car, of course you have to always keep your eyes open and clear and focused, and because that's where you are, in a car. If you're at home, just relax wherever you are. So take a deep breath in. Suck in that oxygen. That in some traditions they call it prana, but it doesn't really matter. We've been breathing this magical substance from the moment we were born, from the moment we were evicted from our mothers through birth. I'm thinking about it because my daughter-in-law is expecting soon, and it's just amazing. This little beings that going along thinking everything's good. I'm used to this inside my mom. It's good all, and then one day it's like, bam, you're out of there. A whole new world is beginning. And in that moment, they know the baby's alive because the baby takes a sudden gasp of air, and then often they let out a cry, and hey, he or she's breathing. He's breathing, right? And then once that journey of breathing starts, guess what? It's never stopped for any one of us till this very moment, even to right now. And your heart has been beating all this time. And as I've mentioned before, it's like 2 billion and more than a couple billion heartbeats in a lifetime. I mean, it's hard to believe. And your heart just goes on day in and day out. You're awake, you're asleep, your heart just keeps doing its thing. And if for some reason it decides not to, then you either have an emergency surgery or your visa on being alive on Earth expires. But right now you're listening to me, so your visa has not expired. You are here. You're filled with opportunity, and if you and I can just remember that we're in the middle of a divine and magical experience, it's really a miraculous experience. But if you don't always remember that, I'm like you too. I don't always remember it either, but I have to keep reminding myself. We just have to remember that where we are is miraculous. This is a miraculous kingdom. And that message came to me real strongly this week. I want you to just tonight, just open yourself to the idea, even if it doesn't seem that real sometimes, that right now where you are in a miraculous kingdom. And that God's waiting for you to stretch your wings and to dream bigger dreams and lift yourself up to newer possibilities. So again, let's take a deep breath in. Suck that oxygen into your body and just let it go and nourish every cell in your body. Isn't it amazing? Billions of cells in your body. Billions of, I think there's even trillions, I'm not sure, but there's huge numbers of synaptic connections in your brain. And your brain gets to keep making new connections its whole life. That's what I've been working on a lot in my life, to keep growing my spiritual possibilities. And that's what I want you to do too. And when you listen to the show, that's my intention, is that we kind of charge each other up. We lift each other up some. So at the end of this show, you're feeling better, more charged up, more enlivened, more illuminated. And the same with me. Because that's actually the opportunity, I believe, on this earth. And I'm accepting right now that it's beginning to unfold right now on this earth, which is that people will learn to realize we have a special key, we have a lock we can unlock and share the love in our heart and our mind and our soul with the people around us. And when we do that, guess what, my friends? Then this life can start to become exciting and love-filled and amazing and joyous. And that's my invitation to you, is that you open yourself to that you can have a joy-filled, love-filled, ecstatic life a lot of the time. But we have to plug in to each other and into God. We have to learn how to plug in. That's what we have to do. When we learn how to plug in, then great ecstasy and joy can start to fill our hearts and souls. When we start to realize we hold a key to each other, which is the way it's designed anyway, isn't it? Love was never meant to be an isolated thing, a solitary endeavor. We're designed to live in love, in communion both with God in the infinite sense, the eternal presence of God, but also with each other in the very real sense. And as we do that love with each other, I guarantee our lives will change 100%. But the secret is, can you learn to give love and then wait and see what comes back to you? So let's just take another deep breath in. Again, just hold it and let it come into your body. Just take the oxygen into every part of your body. Just let it feel it going all through yourself. Now just exhale. And when you exhale, you're letting everything that needs to leave you leave your body. And when you do that, that sets you up to be more joyous, more happy, more loving, more fulfilled. You are designed to win, to succeed, to thrive, to be fulfilled and good human being on this earth. You're designed to reach out to the infinite power of God and develop a communion with God that becomes a living, vital relationship inside your own soul. Think about it. You have a spot, a place within you designed to plug into the infinite power of God, so you could become a living extension of divine grace. A living extension of divine grace. You can do that. Let's take a deep breath again. Just let in that oxygen. Again, just bring it into you, all through your whole body, down to the tips of your toes, up and down your spine, into your eyes, up into your brain, up and down your spinal cord. Just let it all flow in. Flow in right now. And open yourself right now to the idea that right this second, you are in a divine and miraculous experience. Right this second, you are living in a creative, divine, extraordinary experience. Let your heart be filled with that realization, that the infinite Spirit of God works in and through you right where you are. Think about that, right where you are. So take a breath in of the divine substance called air. Hold it and just let it nourish your body. And exhale. You are a dream manufacturing creation of God. God has given you dreams of hopes, of ideas and paths to walk into a beautiful future. God has given you these dreams so that you might be free, that you might be able to enrich the life around you, that you might have access to those dreams yourself, that you might have access to the love within yourself. Would you be open tonight to letting love come into your heart, mind, and soul? Take a deep breath again. And every time I do that, it feels great to me too. Just that feeling of what a gift that we can bring this air, this exotic substance that gives us life. How's that possible? How does your body use oxygen and give you life? How does it even do that? Do you have any idea how that works? I don't think so. How is it? All you know is you haven't breathed in your whole life. You may have read in a book somewhere what's happening. Just breathe a breath in again. And then exhale. And what other gifts and possibilities are available to you and I that we haven't even seen? What other gifts are out there? Let yourself just feel that love right now, in and through you, exactly as you are. Up and down your spine, up and down your legs, all your organs functioning together as a unified system to bring you life, health, and vibrancy. And he says, I'm in luck. The NFL game is horrible. All of our games, right? They're part of the entertainment of our lives. I respect that. I really, really do. All these things are part of our life. In many ways is a game. Oh, got a break right now. This is Robert Seidel. You're listening to the Gateway Show. When I come back, I want to share a couple stories to you that I'm quite convinced will really prove to you the divinity and miraculousness of life. So those of you that are listening on the radio, I'll be back in just a moment. And those of you that are on Facebook, stay with me. I'll be back I'll stay with you during the break. This is Robert Seidel. You know, we can learn a lot about life from games, how we like our games. And I know Andy worked this summer at the World Series of Poker. Walked a huge number of miles every day. And I went over and visited him there, and kind of an amazing thing to see. I'm just laughing. A huge predominance of men, which is kind of interesting. So it tells you, I guess, maybe men like poker more than women. I don't know, I guess. And there was one group. There was a millionaire group. And you signed in for this thing, and whoever wins would become a millionaire. So that's kind of neat. You start up. So I don't know how well I would do in a poker game. I'm not too sure. But it's an amazing thing. But sports that we enjoy so much, they contribute to our lives. All these things contribute to the gift of our lives. And if we can celebrate the miraculousness of this life, you know how much happier we can be? So I invite you, my friends, tonight, let's awaken our own miracle-working dimension within our own souls. What if you discovered it had to be awakened? What if it's waiting to be turned on? Waiting to have your miracle-working power turned on? Would you be willing to let that happen in your life? Would you be willing to let the miracle-working power begin to act in and through and for you? Think about that. What does that mean? Would you be willing to have the miracle-working power of God's grace flow in and through and as you right now? Who knows what possibilities we have as people? The miracle-working power in and through and for us. The miracle-working power working in and through and for us. Kind of amazing to think about that. If that's true, then where you are right now is holy territory. It's holy, holy earth. It's holy place. It's a holy space. The problem is we don't see it. We think it's somewhere else. It's somewhere way out there. But what if you discover that where you are right now is miraculous? Barb says, Andy, you're the comic relief. Let's open ourselves tonight to a new beginning for each one of us. Let's open ourselves to the miracle working power. Like I said, the miracle working power of God's love and grace in and through every atom, every molecule of our bodies and minds and spirits. What amazing things could come forth now. There's so many stories in the Bible of people that have waited a long time and suddenly the doors opened up and the floodgates of abundance came in to their life and joy. Here we go, back in the radio show. Here we go. Good evening, my friends. A great pleasure to be with you on this Sunday evening in September. And you know, it's funny, I think we are. I mean, it was actually raining a little bit today. We're definitely starting to enter into fall. I was telling, Andy says, I accept being the comic relief. My mission is to uplift people. That's true, Andy, and you do a good job of it. And a lot of other things too. So, what would happen for each one of us if we could realize we have a switch by openness that God's infinite love could start to come through us and trigger new possibilities? What would happen? What would happen in our lives? How would our lives be different? How would we look at our lives different if we realized we are miracle workers in a miraculous dimension? So I want to show, and for those of you who just tuned in the radio, again, this show on 6 to 7 Sunday evenings is the Gateway Show. It's Robert Seidel. You can always find me, by the way, if you ever want to look me up on the internet, robertseidel.com, robertseidell.com. That's my legal website, but also you can get in touch with me. And I am a personal injury attorney. Been an attorney for 46 years now. Can you believe that? Long time. I've seen everything from minor to very serious cases, and I enjoy it. I still like the people I meet. They teach me, and it's educating. I feel like people have become part of my family. I have people coming back, bringing their whole families, and it's been very rewarding for me. It's kind of helped keep me vibrant moving forward. So I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a couple of different stories here, but I'm going to read you an email I got, and there's a restaurant. As a matter of fact, I happened to go there last night. Now this actually happened a while before, but this is an email I got related to a dinner I had in this restaurant. And I saw somebody sitting at a little table nearby me, and I went over and said hi and gave them my Expect a Miracle card. And I know a lot of you I have a lot of little Expect a Miracle stories, but you know that's because they changed my life. Let's see if I can show you a picture of my card here for a second to see what I'm talking about. There it is, right there, my Expect a Miracle card. So I walked over to these people and gave them a card at this restaurant. Now here's the email I got. You don't know me, but you made an impact on me. You gave me your business card a few weeks ago. That was my miracle card. And on your card it says Expect a Miracle. I really appreciated that. I wanted to give you a little bit backstory on that night. My husband and I have lost 4 pregnancies, and I won't mention any names, by the way. Have lost 4 pregnancies and decided to have a celebration of life for them. I carved stones with the hummingbirds on them and placed them in our backyard, had a small service. Then we went out to dinner with our son and foster daughter. The place we wanted to go to had a line out the front door, so we decided it'd be too much to make the 2 little kids wait in line. So we drove down the parking lot, and lo and behold, we stopped at the restaurant we were eating at, where your family was eating. I wanted to thank you for stopping to talk to us, and thank you for your business card too. Reading that was the perfect end to our night. Thank you. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you is that, so here I am. I just go over and hand my card to these people. But little did I know they literally had a celebration of life earlier that morning for 4 pregnancies that had terminated or miscarried. And they even had carved headstones and everything. And I came along and said, Expect a Miracle, the day they were celebrating. And if they had not had too long of a line at the other place, they wouldn't have ended up at the restaurant where I was eating with my family. And they would have never gotten that card. And that card came at the end of that day. So it kind of was like an uplifting way to say, yeah, you're on the right track. So to me, it's like, did I know that was happening? No, of course not. But the infinite intelligence of God did know. Now I'm going to tell you another story, very, very similar to that. And I was just reminded of it this morning. I was at church this morning, and there's a family that brings carved wood objects that are carved in Bethlehem. In fact, if you ever come to my office, I have a statue of Jesus and also the Last Supper that was carved over in Bethlehem, and by this group of people and their friends and family over there in the Middle East. So I started visiting them. They said, we know you, don't we? I said, yeah, well, you do know me, because a couple of years ago, I had met them also at church, and then later, a couple of days later, I happened to be walking around the neighborhood at my office, which is downtown, and down into Springs Preserve on Charleston, and I decided to take a different route than usual. And as I went this different route, I saw a crowd of people standing out in front of a house, of which the lady I saw today was one of those people. And she had seen me also when I had bought something from them at one of the things from Bethlehem. So she recognized me. So I walked over to her and talked to her. And this is a long ways away from where I saw her, probably 15 miles away. And I walked over and said, what's going on? How come everybody's standing outside? They said, well, our grandmother died. I said, well, oh, really? When did that happen? They go, well, it just happened right now. I said, oh, really? And so somehow one thing led to the next. Next thing I know, I'm going back inside into the little guest house where the grandmother was lying there on her bed, very nice and peacefully laid out there. And I take everybody's hands and said a prayer for her. So I wasn't even going to go that route. I normally never walk that way at all. I see somebody that I just had met at a church about 15 miles away. She recognizes me. We connect. And then one thing leads to the next. And suddenly I'm kind of leading a little service for this woman who I've never met before in my life. And so my only encounter with this lady is after she died. But what's the likelihood I would show up there and suddenly I'm an ordained minister, I'm doing a little service for her, a little ceremony for her, where I wasn't even planning to be. And if I hadn't showed up and met these people when I was getting a Christian statue from them that's carved in Bethlehem, and they hadn't recognized me, I probably never would have come together. And they remembered that very well when I talked to them today. Now, if you stop and let that into your heart and mind and soul, what's the likelihood I just independently take a different route than I ever have taken before, walk to a different neighborhood, and suddenly see somebody that I'd met just not too long before related to getting a statue of Jesus, and they recognize me. I discover their grandmother had just passed away, and I'm able to go in and lead a prayer for her with this group of people. Could I have planned any of that? Of course not. Any more than I could have planned the other story of giving them my expected miracle card to these people on the day that they were celebrating, doing a celebration of life for their pregnancies. So you see, I think if you and I can begin to grasp that we live in a world that's that intelligent, that God is that powerful and that intelligent, that God can arrange things that we could never plan. And that's what you and I have to begin to open our minds to. God can arrange things that you and I could never plan. God can close doors that we're not supposed to go through. And we may even be upset about it. We may even be angry about it. But then 5-10 years later, we may say, that's why. That's why. And God can open doors that were once closed when it's right to be opened again. So if you and I are going to really enjoy this life, we have to be willing to realize the true power of God's love and grace. And these two little stories are just examples of how somehow, as I wander around in this world, God put me in both places, to do something that served other people, but also served my life too. And you do the same thing. God does the same thing with you and every one of us. And the people in your life, see, it's the great adventure of this life is to rise above the mortal experience of life, which is just being a body and thinking you're in kind of a lost journey of humanity and a material existence. That's what the carnal or mortal mind will think it is. the carnal, mortal self, as they call it in Christianity, will tends to think that there's no real purpose or plan to anything. It's all just a matter of coincidence, and but then you have experiences where you have to realize, no, that wasn't a coincidence. That was divine guidance. So if there is divine guidance ever, that means there can always be divine guidance. So my invitation, if it can happen once, that means it can always happen. So my invitation to each of you tonight is to join with me in accepting, even now, if you're listening to this show, it's by divine grace that you and I are connected right this second. There's a divine purpose for it. Does that mean I understand the divine purpose? No more than when I handed the card to those people and they were celebrating, doing a celebration of life, or when I walked a different direction and came across this group of people where this woman had just passed. I didn't know those things, but the infinite intelligence of God's grace did. And that's the opportunity you and I have as people, to begin to trust more deeply. And if you ever look deeply in your soul, you'll discover that almost all of our sorrow and unhappiness and stress and pain comes because we don't really trust that God's infinite, eternal, and has an infinite plan for our lives. That's the source of our problems. And it's easy. I understand this. I have my doubts too at times. I do. But what I do when I have doubts, by the way, I just simply say, okay, God, I confess my doubts to you. I confess my upset. What if there's something upsetting me? I just release it to God all the time. C is saying, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that, but Seth is saying, I definitely believe God sent you to fill up others' lives with love and compassion. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. This world is such a magnificent gift, but it also grieves my heart how many of us sometimes get ourselves into stories and situations where we're not finding the joy, the peace, and the love of life. And so that's why I do this show, is to create the possibility for more people, including me, to live in greater joy, peace, and love. Because isn't that the way we can really honor God? By finding the greatest joy in our own hearts? So this is Robert Seidel. You're listening to The Gateway Show. We're going to go to a break. I'll stay with you on Facebook. Stay tuned, and I'll be back in just a moment. For those of you on the radio, this is Robert Seidel. So my friends, it's a constant adventure. The world, and this was true when Jesus lived too, the world, and it's always been true, the world will always send messages of negativity. The world will always send stories that would tend to make us think God's not sufficient, that God's a powerless God. It'll always give that message. But you and I have to make a choice. Are we going to believe that message? Or are we going to believe in God? That's the choice we have to decide. Are we going to believe that God is powerless, that God doesn't know us, that we're just cast on this earth with no purpose or meaning? Or are we going to open ourselves to the idea that there is an infinite love, that we have the opportunity to connect to an eternal and divine joy? And God gives us the tools, the methods, and the mechanism to do it. So whatever's going on in your life, I invite you tonight with me to dare to open your heart to God's infinite love. The same miracle working power that got me to that house where the people died, the woman died, and I was able to say a prayer for her, and also got me to give a card to somebody who was just celebrating that night, doing a celebration of life. That same infinite intelligence exists for you and I right now. But are you willing to be open to it? Are you willing to give your faith and your confidence to the infinite power of God's love? Would you be willing to do that tonight? Would you be willing to accept infinite and eternal grace and love and peace? That's my question for you. Our rational, logical brains are afraid to do that, but our divine self wants to, because it's the only place we ever really find peace. So wherever you are right now, whatever's going on in your life, I say to you that God is with you right now. God is with you. God is in your circumstances. Even if you're facing a struggle, even if you're facing an adversity, If you dare to surrender it 100% to God, God can take the story and outwork it to good. Can take those pieces of a puzzle and let them form into something wonderful. So right now, I invite you to come back to the faith. Maybe you had it as a young child. Maybe you had it as a young man or woman. Maybe you had it a year ago. And maybe you have it right now. But the bottom line is, let's open ourselves to a renewed and deeper expression of God than we've ever known. That's my invitation to you. A new and deeper experience of God than you've ever known. Let's come back on the radio right now. Good evening, this is Robert Seidel. A great pleasure to be with you here tonight, on the Gateway Show on the #1 talk station in Las Vegas, going out all over Las Vegas, and also simulcasting on Facebook. I've got a lot of people listening on Facebook, and you can listen to it later both on Facebook. You can also go to YouTube now and just type in Seidel Podcast or Seidel Gateway Podcast, and you'll pop up, and you can go back and listen to any of these if you find them encouraging. And share them with your friends, by all means. It's just a way to share this message. So I just welcome you back to our show and the Gateway Show. And what I want you to know, this show is dedicated to one simple principle. This world is a supreme gift to be given a chance to live in. That there are opportunities that surround you and I that are infinitely better than we could ever dream of. That this is a divine and miraculous experience that we're in. And how do we get into agreement with God's highest purpose for our lives? How do we get into agreement with that? We use our prayers. I really believe, when my kids are dealing with one issue or another, I always say prayers with them. Because in the end, I think prayer is our hope. It's our answer. It may seem like it's not doing anything, but I truly believe it does. And a lot of times, it takes some time to trust. And sometimes when we pray on something, it takes a little bit of time before things open up. But you know what? Sometimes they open up very quickly too. So tonight I invite each one of you to open your hearts to the infinite power of God's love in your life, as your life, wherever you are. Think about that. The infinite power of God exactly where you are. As I sit here doing this show with you, I think you'd actually be shocked. I always feel such a nice experience of love and grace and healing. And I send it back out to each one of you, even if you're listening later on. I know in the depth of my heart that heaven on earth will come when we human beings realize we hold the key to giving heaven and earth to each other. Think about that. That you have a key in your heart. Have you opened your heart lately? Try opening your heart right now, whatever that means. Open your heart to love right now. Whatever is happening within you, just open your heart to love. Let's see if we can feel each other, our loving experience of one another. And dare to trust that God is so great that God can orchestrate you having heard this show right now, or me talking to you right now. And also God is great enough to open doors and close doors for you. But something else I've been working on lately, and I want to bring this up to you also tonight. I told you those two stories that to me show me that God is infinite and intelligent and can put us where we need to be. But I also was reminded of something in this last few weeks. And like everybody else, I need to be reminded of things. There have been many years I have very religiously repeated affirmations every day to just get my mind focused on the high and the good, the pure, the mighty, and the noble. Like, I'm one with the infinite power of God's love. Everywhere I go, I see God's love surrounding me at every moment. I am radiantly, vibrantly healthy at every moment in time. So if you could start saying affirmations like that, and I for years I have a whole list of them, and I would repeat every day. And sometimes I get a little bit out of the habit. I still pray, I still say a few, but I haven't been doing quite as many of those. And it made me realize, you know what? I need to do that again. It's not enough just to say I turn it over to God. That is good. But just like there's a saying in one spiritual tradition is you treat, which is a word for prayer, treat and move your feet, which means, yes, you pray, but you also follow it up with action. So I can pray for wonderful good in your life and my life and all of our lives, but I can follow it up with action. And part of the action is doing some powerful affirmations. I've been repeating, a great time to do affirmations if you take showers in the morning, do it when you're in the shower. Do a string of affirmations. I have a short series of affirmations I do every day in the shower, but I'm going to start doing some more even than that. I'm going to start digging more deeply into it because God's given us that ability. And it's a great way to root out negativity and a great way to put positiveness into our lives. I'm going to pull this up right now. Just the other day, I just had just a few little simple ones just came to me, and I'll read them to you right now. Whoops, what am I doing here? Here we go. I'll tell you what I wrote. These are some affirmations I wrote just the other day. I always find a way. There is always an answer. I am a rich, abundant, prosperous person. I thrive in my life and I have radiant, glorious health. God's infinite love dwells within me as me. I am the light of God. Wherever I go, I bring joy and happiness. I am excited by the opportunities that surround me. And then the last one, I can hardly believe how fortunate and blessed I am. So I want you to think about it. Those just, nothing magic in those, but it's like, can you see if you start repeating those on a daily basis and you let it become your experience? I always find a way. Isn't that an answer right there? Isn't that a powerful thing? I always find a way. Or how about there's always an answer? How many times have you felt there isn't an answer to something? And isn't that often a source of depression and discouragement? What you and I have to be willing to do is just trust. Yeah, there is an answer. You know why? Because we live in a divine and miraculous world. And most of us know that. I mean, we have so many gifts that nobody had even 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Thomas Jefferson had 6 children, and 5 of them died before they were adults. And he wrote in his journal, I wonder if I will leave no survivors. 5 of his children died before they were adults. And his wife died at a young age too, shortly after childbirth. I don't know if it was directly because of childbirth, and it's a very touching story because he sat with her during that time of illness, and they had a journal, and she would start a sentence and he would finish it. So that you'd have one sentence half written by her and half written by him. And this went on for several weeks, and then she died. Or however long it was. I don't think it was several weeks even. And then he just got on a horse and rode around on the forest for a few weeks because it's a way of dealing with grief. But my point is, I guarantee those 6 kids, 5 of them would still have lived in our era because they would have just probably taken an antibiotic or something. But back then, they didn't have any of that. So we have so many answers today that we never had before. So whatever you're facing in your life, I invite you to realize and open your mind to the idea that there's an answer for it. And let's say you're in your heart are looking for love in your life. Because a lot of people are, one way or another. Well, the first and most important thing, of course, is to seek God's love and be open to God's love. Because it's a lot of times, one of my friends, I posted something that somebody I literally have known for about 40 years here in Vegas. I posted something on Facebook the other day, and it says it's never too late. And maybe I wonder if I can find that. I should see if I can find that little picture, that little image. And it's never too late for a new beginning. It was the message, basically. And she posted, yeah, even finding love at age 72. And she had a picture of her with her new boyfriend. So you never know when you're going to find. You walk around a corner and suddenly meet somebody new. A new doorway opens up. A new career opportunity. A new beginning. A new idea. You suddenly just like the synapses connect in your brain. You go, oh, I could do that. And suddenly it occurs to you, yeah, I can do that. What a great idea. And that's what makes life exciting, you know. My dad actually worked until he was almost 90 years old. And as a doctor. And we did all sorts of traveling. We would go down to Costa Rica and other places. Traveled with him all over the world, really. To Costa Rica, to Asia. He went to Antarctica when he was 92 years old. You know, he had great health. None of us knows exactly what our health is going to be, but he had great health, and he kept dreaming the whole time. That's what you and I have to do. And we have to, and I need to think about this myself too, all the time. That's why I do this show, to remind myself too. There are dreams and possibilities waiting for you to pull them back off the shelf. Maybe they've gotten a little dusty sitting up there, those dreams. Maybe you've gotten a little bit of discouraged with the world. And there's lots of things we could get discouraged about. But you know what? There's always been lots of things that could discourage people in life. Like I said, look at Thomas Jefferson, losing 5 of his 6 kids. It was common. By the way, a fun fact. That's my kids like to put it. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, both were presidents of the United States. And they kind of hated each other to some extent during their professional careers. Just like a lot of politicians today. But guess what? A lot of you might know this, but it's still fun to think about this. They both died on July 4th, the same exact day. And John Adams' last words were, "Thomas Jefferson lives." Isn't that amazing? Talk about a story. I mean, these two immortal enemies managed to live to the exact same day, and John Adams' last words is, "Thomas Jefferson lives." Now, the truth is, he wasn't living very long, as he died that same day. But the fact that he would have had his arch enemy's name on his voice, on his lips when he died, kind of amazing, isn't it? So we live in a miraculous kingdom, and I just want to encourage you to reach for your dreams. Oops, I'm going to have to go to a break right now. And when we come back, we'll have Janet here with us too, Reverend Janet. This is Robert Seidel's The Gateway Show. Remember, the best is yet to come because you live in a miraculous kingdom. And don't forget it. This is Robert Seidel. I'll be back in just a moment. I'll stay with you on Facebook. So, my friends, you know, that's as much as anything, and I suppose this show's been a gift to me. The gift to me has been to remind myself every week, what dreams am I? You know, when your dreams are running low is when your excitement runs low. If you have exciting dreams, it will excite you again about life. But it's when we don't think we have opportunities. It's when we think the dreams have dried up. It's when we think the future is no longer vibrant. That's when we start to become discouraged. And that can cause us to kind of not want to even live. I mean, we could start to just make, oh, who cares type of thing. But if we realize we're living in a miraculous kingdom, and there's ideas, there's new friends that are going to come into your life. If it's meant to be, there's new romance in your life. There's all sorts of things. Oh, that's funny. Dinah's, my dear friend Dinah is saying, funny, she's been watching a documentary on Thomas Jefferson all day long. I stopped it to watch your live show. I know, you know, Dinah, that's the world we live in. Here I haven't talked about Jefferson for a long time, and you happen to be, you sent me a message, a telepathic message about Thomas Jefferson. You've been watching it, and suddenly you're listening to my show. So, and I'm talking about him. Yeah, no, he was like all people, had his shortcomings, we all do. But he was also a genius and set up a very brilliant government for our country that's made a huge difference for large percentages of people. He and John Adams and some of those other guys too that worked on this all. Amazing people. Let's see something. I got to do something here. See if Janet's getting connected in here yet. Not quite yet. So, you know what, my friends? Yeah, it's funny how it happens. Dinah's saying, yep, it is. It's funny because we're in a divine world. But it doesn't look that way sometimes. It's always a matter of remembering, isn't it? That's what we've got to remember, my friends. I know if I repeat it, I can't repeat it too often because it's easy to forget. But when we're discouraged and in despair, it's usually because we're forgetting that God's infinite power is with us right now in the present moment. But if you and I can remember that, you know what? Then I'll tell you what. The floodgates of goodness can open up for each one of us. If we can remember that, the floodgates of goodness can open up for each one of us. And you're making me think of what dreams, what possibilities, and good things can happen in all of our lives that you couldn't expect even now. Literally before tonight or before tomorrow morning or tomorrow, You don't know when new possibilities are going to show up. But suddenly you may get a call. You may meet a person, and a whole new set of doorways open up for you that you could never have planned. You may talk to a new doctor. You may talk to anything, exactly what you need. New answers, new ideas. So we're coming back to the radio right now. Good evening, my friends. Welcome you back to the Gateway Show. It's a great, great pleasure to be here with you on 6 to 7 live every Sunday evening. The show is, I want you to know what it does for me. Well, I can't probably not, it's probably beyond my ability to explain, but I will say this. Your grace and love that you share with me helps keep my brain, mind, and spirit stimulated too. And I am 1,000% convinced that we hold the keys to the freedom of this world if we just realized it. It's like a person that's sitting on a gold mine but never understood that and looked everywhere else for it. And if we could just understand that in our hearts and minds and souls, that we have the ability to be quickened and awakened to God's infinite love. And if we could just realize where we really are, that we really live in a miraculous kingdom. Jesus talks so much about that in the New Testament of the Bible. He talks so much about it. And he gives so many different examples of the kingdom of heaven, because it means so many different things in different times in different ways. But he talks so much about how to be awakened to the potential of who you are is so valuable you would sell everything to get that awakening. That's the treasure in the field story. You know, if a man knew there was treasure in a field, he'd sell everything to buy that field, because once he had that treasure, it would change his entire life. And there's so many examples like that, so many stories and parables in the Bible. But the key point, my friends, is that you and I need to be awakened and quickened to that. Hold on 1 second here. Trying to see if Janet's going to be connecting with us or not. We'll find out, I guess. Let's see. Okay, here. Anyway, sorry. If she is, she'll be with us in a minute, or she won't be. We'll soon find out. I'll actually leave some more music on. So, if you and I want to be free, what do we have to do? Well, we have to first realize it's like, the example, it's a famous example. This person that lived in South Africa, and back when they first discovered diamonds, they thought, wow, I want that. So he sold his land and got the money and started traveling all over the country, mining and mining and mining. Never got much of anything. And then sure enough, as fate would have it, turned out right on his own land, the greatest diamond mine that was ever found was discovered right on his own land. So he had looked everywhere else, but never looked within his own land. So he never found the treasure he was looking for. So what about you and I, my friends? What about you and I? What treasure are we sitting on that we're not seeing? And that's my invitation to you to think about. What treasure is there waiting for us to discover it? What treasure is there for you and I to discover it? But see, we're never going to, if we don't believe it's there, we're never going to look for it, are we? And I have to remind myself all the time too. All the time. So that's why I want to do the affirmations. I want to repeat those affirmations for you again. Let me read the affirmations again. I always find a way. There is always an answer. I'm a rich, abundant, prosperous person. I thrive in my life. I have radiant, glorious health. God's infinite love dwells within me as me. I am the light of God. Wherever I go, I bring joy and happiness. I'm excited by the opportunities that surround me. I can hardly believe how fortunate and blessed I am. Now, if you could let that excitement and feeling well up inside you, just repeat those. If you repeated them, I did an experiment related to written affirmations about 2 years ago, and it was a way of kind of expanding your income. and you would write out your affirmation as to the relate. And I wrote it out like 50 times a day. And you know what? I just did an experiment. I was part of this group that we did it. I probably should. Who knows? I should do something like that again. You know what? I thought, what good is this going to do? Really? Is this really going to do anything? But you know what? My income went up dramatically during that time period. Which just reminded me that, yeah, you know what? We have access to potential that we forget about. We have so much access to potential that we don't realize. We just get used, it's just life. It's just life. I'm just a human being. But what if you discovered the human being you are has the miracle working power built right within you, kind of like Jesus said, and that you can do greater things than him if you can have faith the size of a mustard seed, which isn't really that big amount of faith, right? Faith is one of those funny things. A mustard seed is small, very tiny seed, but it can plant and grow into a very big tree. So what kind of faith do you need to have to make things work? What kind of faith do you need to make your life take off and open up into the miracle working dimensions of life? So tonight, you know what? I'm gonna say a prayer for you now. Reverend Ernie, by the way, he's out of town today. I'm just gonna say a couple prayers for you right now, while we're joined together. Heavenly Father, Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, I pray for each person that might listen to this, is listening right now, or might ever listen in the future to these recordings, that your infinite light might be showered upon these people. That for those that are experiencing discouragement, that there might be encouragement. To those who are experiencing worry and fear, then peace and assurance might come. If there might be one person or any person experiencing financial adversity, that your material abundance in the form of money and opportunities might come into this person's life, any person's, or all of our lives. If there's a person that's feeling lonely and would like to share love with another human being, I pray that you be guided to find the right person in your life. If there's somebody that just doesn't see much excitement or adventure or love or possibility in life, I pray that you be reinvigorated once again, and you realize it doesn't matter your age, that the best is yet to come. If there's anyone who doubts in you, God, and thinks that you're really not real, or maybe it's all just a wishful fantasy, I pray that that person might receive a dispensation of your love, God, in a new way tonight and in the future. It's so clear that it cannot be denied. And I pray that for myself too. I pray that each one of you be lifted out of your adversities and be blessed in your strengths. And that amazing, divine, miraculous potential be awakened in your life. And you might become a light unto all people that you meet. And wherever you go, that God's eternal love might wash over you like a beautiful spring rain. Maybe I should say a beautiful fall rain, because we actually had some of that today. So we're almost out of time now. So I just pray that God's infinite will, love, and grace touch your heart, the heart of your family, your loved ones. And I pray, by the way, for our country, our nation, that the right people might be guided to lead us and move us through into a beautiful future. So the time's up, my friends. May you all be blessed. And remember that God is real and miracles are real and the best is yet to come. God bless. Have a fabulous, miraculous week. This is Robert Seidel. Until next time.